How to get gigs as a band. Have you ever been performing and you're like, man, we should have so many more gigs than we have? Well, I'm going to give you 10 actionable items you can take right away because you are a band that people want to hear. So what sets apart a band that maybe you saw perform a million times, or the band that you saw perform once at school and never appeared again? Well, there's a couple of things that are quite important we'll talk about here today. Why do so many bands never make it? The main reason is because of a lack of professionalism and because they literally couldn't get gigs. It's a shame because there are a lot of great musicians out there that have put together cool bands. They just didn't know how to run things. So let's talk about how we can do that and get you the gigs you need. And I'm also going to share a quick story about how I helped one of my friends, actually my best friend, who used to make a couple $100s in his band per gig, to then going into the 5-figure region for every single show that he did with his band. Pretty cool story. First, let's lay the groundwork as to how to get gigs. Number one, you need to learn as many covers as you possibly can. What's a cover? A cover is learning the song somebody else has already written, usually a hit song. And so if you have the ability to play at least hit songs, you're going to be able to get gigs way easier. If you're a band that's insistent on only playing your own songs, that's a way tougher road. So I recommend, first, you need to know how to play covers and play them well. The thing is when I book bands, because I get lots of calls from clients saying, hey, we don't just need you as a speaker or an entertainer, we need a band. I say, well, let me refer you to the bands I know. These are the bands that play covers. They're the bands that are very, very good at recreating the actual sound of the original artist. And that's an important thing for you to be able to do. In this case, if you want to have a lot of work as a band. This covers a large demographic. Most clients want to be able to have people that can play country music, rock and roll, folk songs, dance, swing, you name it. It's kind of across the board, but you need to be able to have quite a large library of covers that you can play. The thing is that you're sitting there thinking, well, I thought this was about helping me and my band and we only play original songs. Well, I got you, but I want you to also think about this. Have you ever been to a concert of somebody really awesome that's as famous as you want to be someday and never noticed that they played a cover? Pretty much every single musician I've ever seen in concert plays a cover of somebody else. In fact, Elton John and Billy Joel, two of the greatest hit makers and singer-songwriters of all time, every concert they've ever played, they always play Beatles songs. Covers, even by legends. It works for them. It can work for you. Number two, you need to practice, practice, practice. Now, I want you to think about the Beatles. The Beatles were the biggest band in the history of the world. They practiced every single day. No, they weren't running around doing a million gigs. What they did instead was they played in a bar in Germany. Yeah, most people don't realize this story, but they played for 12 to 15 hours per day before they became known as Beatlemania. Before they came to America in the early 60s, they were playing in a bar in Germany every day. And they did that for a couple of years. They honed their sound. They perfected their ability, practiced like crazy, and that's where they wrote some of their coolest songs. So, commit to practice. Make the promise to do it. Number three, online presence. I want you to consider for yourself your social media right this moment. Is it enough to get you booked? I want you to think about the artists that you follow and why. There's a guy that I started following. He goes by JVKE, but his name is Jake. Jake wrote a song called Golden Hour that went hugely viral, and it's a piano piece that's beautiful. The first time I ever saw a video of Jake and became a fan of his and now follow his Instagram and other places is because he posted a video with the camera sitting right next to him at the piano, and guess who was in the shot? He was there ready to play and sing, and his teacher was on the other side. The woman who taught him how to play the piano, and he played this song, Golden Hour, for her. Now, I don't know if this video is doctored up. I don't know if he overdubbed it. It doesn't matter. It made me cry. I was like, what a cool video. What a great song. The teacher, she was stunned. It was a beautiful moment. I said to myself, that's a good marketer right there. That's a great way to get gigs. And guess what? He has now since gone on to go on tour. He sells that everywhere he goes. He's got a huge fan base. He posts on social media. Your online presence matters. Number 4, think about your personal brand. I want you to think about your logo. Do you have one? It needs to be a name that people can remember for your band. I think about my own experience with different bands through the years. I mean, as a kid, I was a big fan of Pearl Jam, Metallica, Nirvana. These were some of my favorites. And then there were people that were crazy about their bands, like the Grateful Dead. Those people wore not only tie-dye shirts, but had it tattooed on their arm. The Deadheads that would follow Grateful Dead all around the country. Hey, I mean, it even seems like it's the same nowadays. My kids love a guy named Tyler, the Creator. He has this brand called Golf. I mean, it's just weird to me, but I'm like, that's impressive. I saw him in concert. He was really good. He put on a great show. My kids were weeping next to me. I was too because of the language, but I was like, this guy is a great marketer. He created an incredible audience experience for all of us. And so think about your personal brand. It becomes your signature move. It's what people know you for, but also you need to have a logo. You need to have a catchy name, something people can remember, and that they might even tattoo on their arm. Maybe. Number 5, you need to define your sound. I want you to think about what people know about you and what they like about you. There was a band way long time ago named the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys were opposite the Beatles because the Beatles were from England and took over America. Actually, the Beach Boys were from California and they took over England. It was a kind of an interesting story. But the Beach Boys really loved doing studio work. They wanted to be studio musicians, and so they did mostly that. They sometimes toured, but not as much as the Beatles were. And then, of course, there was a guy named Ben Folds. I talk about him in lots of videos because I'm one of his biggest fans. In fact, I'm a Patreon member of Ben Folds. I pay money on a monthly basis so that I can feel like I have a personal contact with him. But here's the thing about Ben Folds. Here's a guy that is known for taking a piano and turning it into the sound of an entire orchestra. The guy is fascinating. I'll go anywhere to watch him at any time. You want your fans to do the same. And so as you define your sound, people start to follow you around because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear you sing your hits. They want to hear you do your covers that you're great at. They follow you because of social media. Everything I'm talking about is relevant to what you need to do to get more gigs as a band. Now, I want you to also know that I've created other videos that would be very applicable to what you need to figure out for yourself. They're on this channel, so I hope you'll subscribe first. But also, I want you to type in this exact title, How to Get Gigs as a Musician. Yeah, there's some other different ideas that I share on that video that will help you in this case for your band. Okay, so I have 5 more tips that are going to be helpful to you immediately, and I hope that these are exciting for you. Let's dive right in. Number 6, be flexible and get booked. Yeah, the best way to get booked is to be malleable, to be able to move around and do different things than you possibly thought, or you probably thought you were going to have to do as a band. You know, most people put together a band, they just play in the garage, and then they maybe get a gig here or there, and then it falls apart. Other people put the band together, they get some gigs, they start to think they're special, they're never willing to do anything but play their own songs, they won't play covers, they don't get booked. Well, then there are the people that start to play, and they do all their covers, and they do their songs, and then hey, they start to get booked, but they won't change anything because they're not flexible. That band is going to have a really hard time. I noticed recently at a corporate event that a band did something really cool that got them the gig. You see, we were all there as attendees, and I noticed this guy was walking in front of us with a guitar and he was singing while we were walking through the mountains to a ski lift. The ski lift then took us up the mountain to a lodge where the guy on the guitar was on the ski lift with us, and we walked into the lodge at the top of a mountain, and there was his band. I found that interesting. That band leader was willing to play the guitar solo and serenade us as we went up a mountain. Are you willing to be that flexible? He then played with his band during dinner, which is not an ideal situation, but they made money. That was a gig. In fact, it was a showcase. He probably got more bookings because people that were there were all event planners. They were watching him and how he was interacting with them even when we were all eating dinner. Eventually, the dinner was over and we went back down on the ski lift. Guess what? Guitar guy came with us. He played all the way down. He walked to another lodge where everyone was having drinks, and he stood there and he played the guitar a little bit longer. I find that interesting. That's a bookable guy. That's a flexible band. Are you willing to be that flexible to get a gig? If you're not, it might not be the right career for you. I want you also to think about all the opportunities you've possibly turned away, such as because you think you're too special for them. That's a problem. I want you to take every single gig that comes your way, okay? Every opportunity that you can create or make happen. You have a friend that's getting married, offer to play at the wedding. You have a friend that has a birthday next week, offer to play at the birthday party. You don't think they're having a birthday party? Throw in for them and have your band play. Do you see what I'm doing here? You're creating opportunities for yourself to play, but that's because you are flexible. Number 7 is the most important point that I have to share with you today. And it's the narrative of your act and the engagement you're willing to share within it. Most bands put together songs and they just play one song after another. They don't look up at the audience, they don't care, they just play and play. But then there's engagement with the audience. There's the willingness to create something special called a narrative. This is the most important point I can share with you, and here's why. A friend of mine, his name is Quinn, my best friend. He's had a great band for years. They started out as a band that was making a couple $100 here and there doing, fairs and school events and other things. After I saw them play, they were very good. They played a couple covers. They played a lot of originals. I said, it would be cool if you put together a band that played more covers, that would be more demographically pleasing to everybody, and then inserted some of your originals within it, but mostly a show that everybody could enjoy together of covers. So he put that together. He called it Party Rock Project. If you go to partyrockproject.com, you'll see how they went from a couple $100 to a 5-figure per night band. It was a very cool thing because what they did was engage with the audience. When they do Beach Boys songs, they would bring out leis and put them on people, and they would bring out a beach ball and bounce it around. I mean, they would do all kinds of engaging things. They've now morphed even into another type of band called Waiting for James. If you go to waitingforjames.com, that's actually Quinn's beautiful family. They have a family band, and they're now making between $5,000 and $10,000 per event, doing county fairs, doing holiday parties, doing community events as a family band. But it's because there's a narrative through there. They take people on a journey. They tell a story in between the songs. They banter, they laugh, they joke with each other. The audience loves it. And I'm telling you, if you're willing to create a narrative and engage with the audience, that's the smartest, fastest way to have success and get more gigs as a band. Number 8 is showcases. Sign up for the showcases and opportunities you have all around you. You just need to invest in yourself, and you can showcase for county fair groups, you can showcase for communities, for theaters. You can go even offer to play at a bar. I mean, do whatever you have to do. There are showcase opportunities everywhere, and if you can't find one to sign up for, then go set up your band on a street corner and start playing. I'm not joking. That's a great way for people to see you in a showcase situation, and if you're good enough, they're going to come up and want to hire you. Number 9 is your approach to venues. With getting gigs, you need to be able to approach a venue and sound like a professional, look like a professional, and have professional materials to give them. So whether that's a QR code that takes them to a website or something about your Spotify channel, it's important that you have the opportunity with all that you interact, all the people that you're talking to, that you give them a business card, you look professional, you offer to help them in all that they need. If you were to go to a wedding location, let's say where they have weddings and events and things like that, you could actually say, hey, I'm happy to come here and do a free show for you to see what we're like. Then they'll want to partner with you. I guarantee you, if you're good and you're professional, they'll like you. You'll be one of the rare bands that they would say, hey, they're our in-house band. That can happen at a convention center, that can happen at a hotel, that can happen in an airport or a restaurant, you name it. It's up to you and your hustle and your approach. And number 10 is your approach to bookers, managers, and agents. Now, you've got experience by showcasing and doing all these things on social media, and now you're walking up to venues and trying to pitch yourself. Now it's time to be ready to get an agent. You've done all the work to figure out how to be a good band, you're engaging, you have a narrative, you're really awesome. Now it's time to pitch yourself to them. Or if you want, here's what I'd like to offer you. If you've gone through this video and you've actually taken serious some of these points that I've said, I would love so much for you to put in the comments, if you will, your website and your information. I would love to see your website, your social media presence, and I will actually help you get an agent or an opportunity as a band. Why? Because I get calls all the time from people needing a great band who's professional, who's reliable, somebody who's going to show up and do something great. I would love to help you in that sense as well. So put in the comments below your band, what you're about, your signature moves. I want to see some logos. I want to hear some demos. You got to put it together. You're going to grow that audience. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please subscribe below. Thanks for joining me.